look for us. You can find us in the phone book or on the web at aa.org.
The thoughts, opinions, and statements expressed on this show are not the thoughts, opinions, and statements of KUAW LPFM 98.5.
You were twice defeated in the race of life. Glorious shall be the battle when the time comes to fight for our people and our race. Our people without knowledge of the past history are...
Well, hello, Kansas City, and welcome to the BFTAA and More Show. This is your host,
Well, hello, Kansas City, and welcome to the BFTAA and More Show. This is your host, Louis George Walker.
Coming at you live from the KUAW studios located at
this is your host, Louis George Walker, and I'm coming at you live from the KUAW
Hope you're enjoying this great sunny day in Kansas City for January. It feels pretty good outside. The sun is shining.
Hope you're enjoying this great
sunny
day
in
Kansas
City
City for January. It feels pretty good outside.
You got a chance to get outside and get some fresh air.
You got to take advantage of these days.
This is the BFTAA and More Show, the Black Family Technology Awareness Association, in cooperation with the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center, have come together and formed this radio station, Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom, KUAW Radio. And we brought this show, BFTAA and More, to tell you a little bit about what we do at the Black Family Technology Awareness Association and give you some information of things going on in the community and in the African American or the African diaspora throughout the world. So, as we get ready to get started today, I want to say this is into that new year. We're our second week into 2022. Things are starting to roll. We're making plans. We're moving forward, and it's looking good. So we're glad that you're here with us. Yeah, the Black Family Technology Awareness Association is about closing the digital divide that exists in the African American community. So we want to do that by encouraging our families to get involved in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. Also to have broadband access in your homes. Not just to have a cell phone and using the line or the cell phone for it, but to get Wi-Fi in your house. Get a high-speed line that's going to give you 25, 50, 60, 100 megabits of download speed, and even the gig if you go with Google, and it gives you a good upload speed. That is all beneficial. Your phone is great, but it's not the fastest hotspot, the best hotspot. Now, when 5G comes out, things may change a little bit as we see them start rolling out the 5G if they can get in the home with some bandwidth that is like what you can get online. I'm going to go to my internet site and see if anybody, my Facebook site, see if anybody is hollering at us or if something is not going out right and stuff. My wife will usually let me know. But since we're not at the house anymore, which we had broadcast from home for quite a long time, I think she's glad to get me out of the house and back down here to the studio. But I could always get messages from her if I was messing up something on the controls. So now that I'm down here, I've got to go to Facebook and look and see if everybody can hear me and can check me out online. I see that B. Michael Long has thrown a like up there. He's always on the first and third Mondays with our Shifting Paradigm show, so we hope that you'll check him out. We also would like you to tune in on Saturdays. We start off that day with Wake Up KC with Dr. Cheryl Canty and Pastor Ellery Canty. You can check them out. And then we have at 1 o'clock Carl Boyd, who comes to us with Wave Your Grade. So you want to check that out. And you want to listen on our audio side, too. If you listen on the audio only, the real radio type side, you can pick up shows like Blues Time in the City, the Cool Jazz Weekly that comes on, and we're getting ready to bring another new show on. I've been talking with a guy that wants to bring in more of a what do I want to say? Sort of like the what did they call that? Soft and not soft, but a little more mellow R&B music, you know, that's going to be coming on here and stuff. So Quiet Storm, the Quiet Storm type. So we're going to have a new type of Quiet Storm coming out if we can get together, me and him, and that show will be premiering here hopefully in the next week or two. So we're constantly doing things, constantly trying to improve here at KUAW Radio. On Tuesdays, we have a good lineup. We start that day off with Senior Moments, and after Senior Moments comes Chris with Street Therapy, and then T-Baby with Truth Be Told, and we'll go into Source of the Inkwell with Tyrone Gathers, and we finish the day off with Lene Gray. So tomorrow, tune in for a lot of live broadcasts that'll be going on here. That's really exciting. This is what KUAW is about. We also play music and we have entertainment. Excuse me very much. Excuse me. On here that we try to have so that you can pick up some of the whoops, let me close this down there so that you don't hear two things going out here right now. And so we're going to be doing things and bringing in new shows. We're saying goodbye to some old shows that aren't going to be on. I hate to inform everyone, but our show with Cheryl Underwood, we were playing some archive shows of hers right now, but the Cheryl Underwood show is no longer going to be broadcast live through the week. So this week, probably a little bit of next week, you can hear some of the best of Cheryl. We're playing those, but we're getting ready to swing or change our lineup a little bit so that we have some new shows in there, and we won't have lunch with Cheryl at noon. We've had 5 or 7 years with Cheryl Underwood and the Grain, Vic Frost, and all of them there. So we wish them well in their future endeavors, and we're going to keep on moving on. All of those that were part of the Cheryl Underwood Network, I'm reaching out to you, though, so that we can all get together. We can still share information, share programming that we can all use to benefit each other. So we'd like to hear from you. Now, one of the things that we wanted to check out today, as we do generally on the BFTAA and More show, as we change gears, we'd like to tell you about STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. That's what we do. That's what our bread and butter is. That's what we started this organization, the Black Family Technology Awareness Association, on. And we've got a robot team that we've reformed right here at the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center, and they're meeting on Saturdays from 12:30 to 2:30. We have about 4 kids involved in it right now. We're going to take 2 more. We're not going to have as large a class as we've had before, but we'll take 2 more into our robotics class. So if you'd like to get your child involved in the VEX robotics program for 6th graders through 12th grade, get in touch with us or come down Saturday between 12:30 and 2:30 to the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center. You can also go to our website and make sure that you enroll your child in it, and we will get an email and contact you. So you can go to www.bftaa.org. That's www.bftaa.org. So if you go to that, you can get us, and we'll be able to work with you there. So we're going to get ready to go into one of the shows that we always do as we get ready to get more STEM with you. We have what's going on this week at NASA. We didn't have anything last week because of the holidays and they didn't send out a broadcast. But NASA is the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, and they put out a broadcast every week to let you know what's happening in space. And we're always interested in that because there's where a lot of research and development is, and a lot of opportunities for our young people in our community. Right here in Kansas City, you can still put in applications and work with NASA. They have summer camps at NASA for our high schoolers that they can get involved. There are also scientific games and projects that you can do online for all ages, from kindergarten up, in science on the NASA website. So go to nasa.gov, and you can learn so much more that you can learn and do to help you get prepared for the future. There's a lot of things going on in space, so we're going to get ready to check out a little bit more of that right now with what's happening this week in NASA, and then we're going to follow that up with Space to Ground. So you'll get a couple of bits of what's going on in NASA. Then I'll be right back so we can go some more into the BFTAA and More show and let you know what's going on around the community and the world. So stay tuned for This Week at NASA.
In 2021, we touched down on Mars, then reached new heights on the Red Planet. We also made progress preparing for a flight test around the Moon, returned to Earth by a future mission. While the Ingenuity helicopter, a technology demonstration on that mission, became the first aircraft to make a powered, controlled flight on another planet. We completed testing of the James Webb Space Telescope and sent it to its launch site in French Guiana. The wide array of science missions we sent to space included the first mission to study the polarization of X-rays, the first spacecraft to visit Jupiter's Trojan asteroids, and our first planetary defense test mission. Our Chandra X-ray Observatory may have detected signs of a planet crossing in front of a star outside of our Milky Way galaxy for the first time. While our Parker Solar Probe provided surprising views of Venus during a close flyby and became the first spacecraft in history to touch the Sun, flying through and sampling the environment in the Sun's upper atmosphere. And the Transiting Exoplanet Survey Satellite, or TESS, helped discover a trio of hot worlds larger than Earth orbiting a much younger version of our Sun. Some new but familiar faces took on leadership roles at the agency. The Biden-Harris administration chose former Senator and Space Shuttle payload specialist Bill Nelson and former astronaut and Space Shuttle commander Pam Melroy as NASA's newest administrator and deputy administrator, respectively. Some of our work in 2021 reflected the Biden-Harris administration's commitment to addressing climate change and its effect on our home planet, something NASA is uniquely positioned to do. We announced our Earth System Observatory, a new set of missions to help guide efforts related to climate change, disaster mitigation, fighting forest fires, and improving real-time agricultural processes.
And liftoff. Liftoff of an Atlas V rocket and Landsat 9.
We partnered with the U.S. Geological Survey to launch the Landsat 9 satellite, built to continue the program's 50-year track record of monitoring the planet's changing landscapes. Several weeks later, Vice President Kamala Harris visited the agency as we unveiled the satellite's first images. NASA conducted and participated in a series of climate change studies related to high tide floods and Earth's energy imbalance and energy budget.
This animation shows.
As part of a global response to climate change, we participated in the UN Climate Change Conference. We captured data with a specialized instrument on the space station to help fight forest fires in the western U.S. We also coordinated with researchers to develop dashboards on the spread and effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, including tracking any changes to worldwide air pollution. And we launched an online platform called OpenET to help farmers and water managers in 17 western U.S. states accelerate improvements and innovations in water management. 2021 was the busiest year for human spaceflight at the International Space Station in a decade, It also marked the start of the 21st straight year of humans living and working in space. The splashdown of our SpaceX Crew 1 mission marked the completion of the first operational commercial crew flight to the station and the first nighttime splashdown of a U.S. crewed spacecraft since Apollo 8 in 1968.
And liftoff. Godspeed, Discovery and Crew 2.
Our SpaceX Crew 2 mission followed that. It was the first commercial crew mission to fly 2 international partners and spent a record 199 days in space. And in November, NASA's SpaceX Crew 3 mission arrived at the space station for a planned 6-month scientific research mission. Astronauts and cosmonauts completed 13 spacewalks outside the space station, the most in a year since 2010. With no slowdown to human spaceflight in sight, we introduced 10 new astronaut candidates in early December. We also accepted applications for the next class of flight directors and announced plans for the agency's first 2 private astronaut missions to the International Space Station. Cargo missions flown to the space station by our commercial partners delivered more than 33,000 pounds of science, tools, and critical supplies, and returned thousands of pounds of research and equipment to Earth. And we signed agreements with 3 companies to develop early concepts of commercial destinations as part of our efforts to enable a robust American-led commercial economy in low Earth orbit. We made significant progress in 2021 preparing for the Artemis 1 integrated flight test around the Moon next year. Engineers at our Kennedy Space Center finished installing and testing components and systems for the Orion spacecraft to make sure it is ready for Artemis 1. Meanwhile, teams at our Stennis Space Center completed the 8-part Green Run test campaign with the Space Launch System or SLS rocket's core stage. There was also work in 2021 toward future Artemis missions to the Moon with astronauts. We delivered a key piece of Artemis 2 flight hardware to Florida, completed the welding of another major piece of hardware for the mission, and conducted a series of water impact testing with a test version of Orion. We partnered with SpaceX to continue development of the first commercial human lunar lander. Through Artemis, we plan to land the first woman and first person of color on the Moon. Working with commercial partners, we completed the first propulsion system ground tests with the power and propulsion element for Gateway. Also, Japan became the 3rd nation to support development of the lunar outpost. And the lunar landing site for our Viper robotic rover was selected, a region just outside the western edge of Nobile crater at the Moon's south pole. Viper will be delivered to the Moon in 2023 through our Commercial Lunar Payload Services Initiative, or CLPS, part of Artemis. We advanced space technology in 2021 with new concepts to help drive space exploration and benefit life on Earth. Our laser communications relay demonstration was launched to highlight the next era of space communications. We teamed with the Department of Energy to advance nuclear spacecraft propulsion technologies and fission surface power concepts to boost future space exploration. An onboard suite of cutting-edge technology helped the Perseverance rover land safely on Mars, provide its first weather report, and produce oxygen on the red planet for the first time. And our Deep Space Atomic Clock concluded a successful 2-year mission to advance precise timekeeping in space. We continued our aeronautics research efforts this year to validate unique airframe design technologies for more quiet, safe, and efficient flight on next-generation aircraft. We reached several milestones in assembly of our X-59 quiet supersonic technology aircraft and removed the experimental airplane from its external construction supports. Meanwhile, we completed high-voltage testing on our all-electric X-57 Maxwell aircraft. We conducted wind tunnel testing with a full-scale Concept X-plane, the centerpiece of a national partnership with industry, academia, and other agencies to achieve net zero emissions in aviation by 2050. We wrapped up our Airspace Technology Demonstration 2 project after 6 years of successful research into reducing flight delays, streamlining airport operations, and curbing emissions. We conducted flight tests with an all-electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft to collect data critical to our Advanced Air Mobility National Campaign. And a wildfire management workshop NASA hosted demonstrated how emergency responders can fight fires more safely and effectively using NASA technology. We launched our Mission Equity Initiative in 2021 as part of a federal government effort to support historically underserved and underrepresented communities. Our headquarters building in Washington was named after Mary W. Jackson, the first African-American female engineer at NASA. She was part of a group of women whose work was critical to sending the first Americans to space. And students who are deaf, blind, hearing, and visually impaired connected with astronauts aboard the space station during an in-flight event to promote inclusion in space. There were plenty of opportunities in 2021 for students to engage in NASA STEM-related activities. NASA collaborated with future engineers to create the Artemis Moon Pod Essay Contest, in which nearly 14,000 students from every state in the country participated. Our Mission to Mars Student Challenge demonstrated how science, math, and create.gov/2021. Thanks for watching. Please have a safe, healthy, and happy holiday season, and we look forward to sharing more NASA highlights with you in 2022. Deployments for the James Webb Space Telescope, another remarkable achievement for Hubble and helping to improve launch safety. A few of the stories to tell you about this week at NASA. The team for our James Webb Space Telescope spent the week deploying various components on the Next Generation Space Observatory. On January 4th, they finished deploying Webb's 70-foot sun shield, which protects the telescope from the light and heat emitted by the sun, Earth, and Moon. The sun shield provides a level of protection that would be on the order of more than SPF 1 million if it were sunscreen lotion. The next day, the team began operations to deploy the secondary mirror support structure. The secondary mirror plays an important role in reflecting the light from the primary mirror to the science instruments that sit behind the primary mirror. There is another 5.5 months of setup activities before Webb will be ready to deliver its first images. Our Where is Webb site at go.nasa.gov/whereiswebb features an infographic that shows the status of Webb as it makes its way to its final science destination about 1 million miles from Earth. Our Hubble Space Telescope rang in the new year by officially passing the 1 billion second mark of its remarkable mission in space. Hubble was deployed and began operating on April 25, 1990, more than 31 years or 1 billion seconds ago. Hubble's first 1 billion seconds included 5 astronaut servicing missions to the telescope and more than 1.5 million scientific observations and counting. Our Ames Research Center in California is using cutting-edge computational fluid dynamics software and supercomputers to better understand how vibration levels during various launch abort scenarios might affect the Orion spacecraft's launch abort system. The colors in the visualizations indicate different degrees of pressure. The launch abort system is designed to safely pull Orion and astronauts inside the spacecraft away from the Space Launch System rocket in a split second if an emergency happens during launch. In response to an inquiry from SpaceX, NASA is preparing to conduct environmental assessments to develop Launch Complex 49, a proposed new launch site at our Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The 175-acre site, located north of Launch Complex 39B, would support the launch and landing of the company's Starship and Super Heavy launch vehicle. NASA and SpaceX are moving forward with the initial environmental analysis before concluding a potential agreement to develop the property. Recent upgrades to the flight simulator for NASA's X-59 Quiet Supersonic Technology aircraft are helping test pilots at our Armstrong Flight Research Center in California train in the most robust, realistic system possible. The upgrades accurately replicate the flight controls, instrumentation, avionics, and cockpit of the X-plane so that pilots can effectively practice flying in various situations and scenarios. The X-59 is designed to reduce the loudness of sonic booms that can occur during supersonic flight. Research from the project could help open the future to commercial supersonic flights over land. That's what's up this week at NASA. For more on these and other stories, follow us on the web at nasa.gov/twan.
All right, yes, you got an extended play of what was going on at NASA because I showed you the 2021 wrap up again before I showed you what happened in it this week. But it's still all good because it's good information. I hope that you saw where they're going to be sending people to the moon in the future, in the very near future, and they're going to send a person of color. I think there's a black woman that is supposed to be the first woman of color to go onto the moon, not just into space, but on the moon. So it's going to be a pretty exciting future coming up for things happening in NASA. So, yeah, we kind of went through a little bit more than I wanted you to go through, but you're up on this week. Now, that James Webb Telescope, for all of you that are space geeks, this James Webb Telescope is really amazing. It's more than 1 million miles that they send it out into space, and then it's going to be taking pictures and showing you more than the Hubble telescope could ever show you. So we're getting ready, I think late this summer or definitely by the fall, we'll be seeing some new pictures coming back from the James Webb Telescope. And that's why we tell our kids about robotics. I mean, that whole launching of that telescope, and then that it has to unfurl, and the mechanics that are going into opening it up and getting it set in the right direction and stuff. That's all fantastic stuff that has to be controlled from Earth or is controlled automatically. But as you tell kids about robotics, as they learn about the engineering, the mechanical engineering, the electrical engineering, the computer science that all has to work together to make something like that work, well, there's a lot of expertise that is needed for that. And our young people could be part, or should be part. Everybody's not going to be a rocket scientist or a computer engineer or electrical engineer, all of that, but we don't know which ones are and not until we expose them to it, till we give them the opportunity to learn and to show what they can do. And that's what we're about. So we'd like to show you what's going on at NASA, and we still have one more to show you, and that is Space to Ground. And I think I've got that coming up. So I'm going to show you that, and then we're going to get back and go over some of the stuff that's happening this week. We kind of got our time schedule off, but want to show you a little bit of Space to Ground, and then we'll be right back. All right. Yeah, we're back. That was Space to Ground, and those were some good links if you want to contact NASA. And if you've got young people that are interested in science and technology, or if you want to work with them and do some things at home, because you never know now when they'll be at home schooling again. So if you want to have some stuff ready for them, go to the NASA website, nasa.gov, and then go to the youth part, education and youth, and you will find a lot of things that could be interesting to your young people. There's a lot of videos. There's a lot of things they can do themselves or that they can watch themselves. So that's very important. So thank you for watching with us as we went through our connections with NASA. Now we want to come back to Earth a little bit and talk about something that happened. We got word yesterday, or was it yesterday? No, it was Thursday, that Sidney Poitier had passed away. And I've got an article from the Because of Them We Can. So if you haven't been to that website, check them out too, or on Facebook. It's called Because of Them We Can. But it says, Sidney Poitier, the iconic actor, has joined the ancestors. He was 94 years old. Sidney Poitier was a trailblazing actor and advocate, and the first black man to win an Oscar for his work, according to CNN. And he passed away Thursday evening. The son of a tomato farmer, Sidney Poitier grew up in a time when there was not a lot of prominent roles for black actors. Still, he carved a lane for himself, rising to the highest of heights in his field and becoming Hollywood's first true black movie star. And that may not be the whole truth there and stuff, but we'll let them go with that. We've got some other people in Hollywood. Paul Robeson, that was around before then, that had made a pretty big splash, but he did not get an Academy Award that I know of. In April of 1964, at the 36th Academy Awards, Sidney Poitier made history as the first black man to win an Oscar for his role in the 1963 film Lilies of the Field. So most of the roles portrayed the racial tensions of the time, and Poitier bringing the reality of the civil rights movement on screen for all to see. In the series In the Heat of the Night, which was not the series but the movie, Poitier portrayed, the series was different that came on in the 80s, but in the 60s, the Heat of the Night show, Sidney Poitier portrayed a small town, he came to a small town in Mississippi, and he was a detective, and he was fighting racial bigotry. He helped solve a murder, but he had to go through a lot of other things, and one of the interesting shots in there was when he actually slapped a white man. So that was something that hadn't been done on screen for some strange reason, who knows. But he was questioning, asked him some questions, and the actor slapped him in his role, so he turned around and slapped back. And he had to fight to make sure that scene stayed in the movie because a lot of times, due to the times in the 60s and racial bigotry, they would cut different scenes to show in different parts of the country. So slapping the white man maybe wouldn't be shown in Mississippi or Alabama or some of the places in the South where they would show it in California or New York or something like that. But he fought to make sure that scene stayed in wherever the film was shown, and they did let it happen. So that was good. He was definitely a person that helped move things forward. And while it wasn't easy for the pioneer, Poitier took it all in stride, becoming an activist on and off the screen, creating the blueprint for many other actors who could come after him. During a 2000 interview with Oprah Winfrey, Poitier talked about the pressures that came with his career and his place in society. His words, he said, "It's been an enormous responsibility, and I accepted it. And I lived in a way that showed how I respected that responsibility. I had to. In order for others to come behind me, there were certain things I had to do," he said. And Poitier never shied away from that responsibility, continuing to break barriers over the years. In 1992, he made history as the first black person to receive a Lifetime Achievement Award from the American Film Institute, opening the way for actors like Morgan Freeman, Denzel Washington, and stuff. And Arizona State University has recently paid homage to Porche by naming their film school in his honor. Porche's daughters spoke on their father's behalf, saying he was honored to have the new school named after him and the importance of diversity at the school. It has my dad's name on it. It has to be inclusive because that's the foundation of who he is and what he stands for. And it's important to not only have inclusion, but to have diversity and to give people the opportunity to tell their stories. I think it is imperative to cast a wide net and allow anyone who's called to tell their story to learn how to do that, said Anika Porche. And that's Porche. That's his daughter. Without a doubt, Porche's life has been a roadmap for hundreds who've come after him. May his life and legacy continue to serve as a blueprint for generations to come. Thank you for a life well lived, Mr. Porche. And that comes from Because of Them We Can. It's a very a good webpage and site to get information on Black history, Black today, and Black people that have helped make the way for those of us that enjoy it today. So if you can, check that out. But yeah, we've had some losses, and he was definitely one of the giants. You know, we lost some other actors and actresses. Betty White passed away, and Bob Saget, who was a comedian in Full House, a lot of you may remember, has passed away. But we definitely have to remember Mr. Sidney Porche. Him and Harry Belafonte and others, they were some of the reasons that you have some of the shows you have now. And some of the people, Spike Lee was able to get funding to do some of his movies from Sidney Porche and from Harry Belafonte and other blacks that helped him get his stuff on the air, get his things produced. So it's always great that we remember, and that even if you make it big, that you look back and see that you can help somebody else. And Denzel, Lawrence Fishburne, a lot of the other actors, they always pay tribute. I've heard them talk on a lot of shows where they went over to Sidney Porche's house, they visit with him, all of that, you know, to show that they respect this man and what he did, what he had to go through in order to make it better for the actors and actresses that we have today. So, you know, hats off to Sidney Porche and what he has done. So as you talk about STEM, you also have to remember in the acting world or in the movie and television world, that's another STEM area. That's where people get to use science, technology, engineering, mathematics, because it's a lot there. You know, STEM is in everything we do. So remember and tell your kids, if they are interested in to study their math, to don't skip math classes that are important, algebra, calculus, trigonometry, all of those that may seem really hard, and they're not easy. But they're well worth it to gain the insights that you get in thinking logically and working with this type of field. And even those that don't go that far in say, the academic world, there's still a lot you can do in the STEM field without a degree, with a high school education, or by teaching yourself about computers. There are a lot of computer programmers and people that are working in that industry that don't have college degrees, that taught themselves. They had a knack for it, and they really went at it wholeheartedly, and they've been able to do and make great livings. So it doesn't always mean that you have to go to college, although college is one of the best paths for getting into STEM. Excuse me. It's not something that you say if you don't have it, you can't get there. So, and there's a lot of jobs that can help you along the way or that are beneficial that aren't the top of the line. You may not be an engineer, but there are a lot of technicians that work in shops, in factories, at the NASA that aren't engineers and stuff, but are still doing very technical work. That's very important. It's like if you saw the movie Hidden Figures, the women that they called computers then, well, that was a good living, and they were the ones that did the figures and did the inputting of the data. They weren't engineers, but they were able to, you know, make good livings at that. So, you know, you don't have to be the smartest or the best in the class, but you can get to it. All right. So before we get ready to get out of here, I was reading an article about the algorithm. Says, why is it so hard to regulate algorithms? And that's from the markup. And you may say, well, what is an algorithm? An algorithm is the set of codes and the parameters, the things that are decide how a computer works or how the function works. You know, they have an algorithm now that when you're applying for a job, that stuff that you do online, they want you to do it online. Well, they run a lot of it through a program, and that program makes some decision. That's what they call artificial intelligence, is working off of different algorithms. But those algorithms decide if your interview may go further. A lot of times when you're doing the interview online, not only is it looking at you typing, but it may be videoing you. And they've had algorithms and computer systems that have been set up to try and look at your face, look at your keystrokes, how much time in between typing and things like that. A lot of these algorithms can determine if you get the job or if you get moved up to the next. You know, it can weight your testing. So there's a lot going on, though, because they say that sometimes there's bias built into algorithms, and algorithms are used even in court sentencing. There's a lot of computer softwares now that, okay, depending upon who the person is, they put your name in and how many times you've been arrested and this, that, and the other, and the algorithm will put out the what the sentence should be, you know, or how likely you are to recommit a crime. Things like that. Well, who writes the algorithms? What are they looking for? You know, how do they weight them? Those are some of the things that scientists and computer scientists are really looking at, because they find that some algorithms, they had an algorithm to say to predict where the next crime would occur, and it always went to Latino or black communities. That the algorithm, regardless of what was going on anywhere, it did more pointing towards the black communities. So more police were sent to that area, and then there was maybe stricter enforcement going on in that area because it was deemed to be an area that had higher crime. And sometimes we have to watch what we do with algorithms as that's telling us who to hire, who to fire, how, you know, a person will do in a certain job before they even own the job. Well, what is it based on? So there's a lot on algorithms that I was looking at, and a lot of your cities are using algorithms. They're using algorithms in a way that can be detrimental. It says, where glimpses into how these algorithms were performing were not comforting in several states. Algorithms were used to determine how much help residents will receive from health aides and have automatically cut benefits for thousands. Police departments across the country use the Predpol software to predict where future crimes will occur, but the program disproportionately sends police to black and Hispanic neighborhoods. And in Michigan, an algorithm designed to detect fraudulent unemployment claims famously improperly flagged thousands of applicants, forcing residents who should have received assistance to lose their homes and file for bankruptcy. I mean, things like that we have to look at, because as we get more artificial intelligence, and not to say that it is bad in and of itself, it's a tool, but algorithms are wrote, and who's doing the writing, who's looking over the algorithm, how is it being tested, how much weight do you put on it before you say, well, this person is out, or this person doesn't get a check this month. You know, that's a lot of power in the hands of a computer. So that's something we're going to talk a little bit about next week. I'll have a little bit more I can talk to you is about algorithms, but it is a big thing that is going on right now in computer science and in legislatures, because there's a lot of companies that don't want to get, you know, regulated, and then there's a lot of things happening. I mean, a lot of the voting, as you get ready to do your voting, a lot of things are done with algorithms, artificial intelligence. is looking into that. So we have to know, are the voting machines going to be looking at an algorithm or working under algorithms? How is it going to determine certain things, outcomes? So it's something that's important and something that we should look at, and that is a STEM thing that could affect the community, could affect your household. So we're all in somebody's algorithm, and every time you interface with your computer or use Facebook and stuff, there's algorithms that are determining what you want to see, what's the best ad to show you, and a lot of other things like that. So we need to be aware of this, that it is going on, and we may have to press our elected officials to investigate and look into these things. So that's all we have right now for the BFTAA and More show, but I hope I gave you something to think about. Hope I gave you something that was exciting to you and that could help you and your children as we strive to close the digital divide that exists in the African American community. Yes, that is the Black Family Technology Awareness Association's mission. We continue to work that mission. Continue to watch us and continue to listen to KUAW Radio, Kansas City's global community radio station. We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.